we are in a world that is constantly manipulated to see everything in black and white terms, and you know, I mean, not just, I don't mean that racially. I mean symbolically. There are no shades of grey, and if you look at the world and you look at history, the truth is always in the shades of grey. It's never in the black and white. And so while you've got people who are genuinely racist by reflex action, and I've seen some members of the so-called master race who claim to be the master race, and if they're the master race, well, I'd rather not be, thank you very much. But on the other side, you've got this progressive movement, which would basically place itself out through much of the media, like MSNBC and CNN and such like in America, for instance, but through other media as well. That is the other extreme that will not allow genuine debate and genuine interaction to take place, to look at things that are happening. And so while that will say that genuinely racial view of the world, racist view of the world is extreme, well, extremes have polarities. And the other polarity of this situation is that which calls itself progressive. The biggest problem with progressives, they're not progressive, and they're certainly not informed. And therefore you've got two extremes shouting at each other, and in the middle are a vast number of people who just want a debate about what they're concerned about, and to have what's actually happening circulated in the media instead of covered up and suppressed. And so you know, we have a situation where there are, for instance, women being abused and attacked, and therefore we have to address that. We have to openly discuss it and say, look, how do we stop this? Because by ignoring it because of political correctness, it's just going to go on, and it needs to be addressed. But at the same time, let's take that perception of women and the you know, reality of the world, and say that all Muslims are like that. They are not. My whole experience is that they're not, but some are, and so we need to address it and not stop being, you know, so politically incorrect that we can't say boo to a goose.
All right, last question. How do we get out of it?
Well,
because this is madness.
Yeah,
you know,
madness.
Whatever is happening now,
well,
it's just.
I mean, to really get into it, this is why I talk for 10 hours. There's so many.
Give us a simple version.
There's so much backstory to get to basically how we change this. But
all right, I'll ask you differently. Just excuse me. What shouldn't the people, ordinary people, do so they won't be pulled into that stupid game?
If we keep it just on the level of the world that we experience, people have got to stop being so naive. You know this Dr. Richard Day from 1969? One of the things he said then is basically the reason that we can do this is that people don't ask the right questions. People are so naive, they don't ask the right questions. And ironically, the people most don't ask the right questions are the mainstream media. So instead of accepting the official version of everything, realize that there is an agenda for the incessant centralization of power to fewer and fewer hands. It's what we call globalization. That's one word people give to it, but it's more than that. There is an agenda for the 24/7 detailed surveillance of people, not least electronically. There's an agenda to introduce a police military state to impose the will of the few on the many. There is an agenda to create a world government, world central bank, world army, world currency, cashless. This is why cash is disappearing so fast around the world. And there is an agenda to get technology inside people called transhumanism, which I go into in the books and on Saturday in depth. It's a big story, it's so important to current events. To attach our perceptions to basically an artificial reality, what these people are calling a cloud. So this cloud, this technological reality, actually becomes our subconscious mind and is feeding our perceptions. Like, so we become nothing more than computer terminals on a manufactured global internet. This is happening. So here's the point. Anything that happens in the world and any explanation of things happening in the world which justifies the movement towards any of those things I've just described, that's the agenda. And therefore, the situations that have been created to justify that advancement are not happening by chance, they're not happening by accident, they are specifically designed to get people to accept that advancement of all those things I'm talking about. Who benefits? And if anyone benefits, that are those that want that to happen, then big time, don't accept it, because they're lying to you. And also, realize that the whole history of authority is it lies to us. Why is it going to suddenly tell the truth now? It's ridiculous. And also, deeper into this, stop self-identifying just with your name and your life story and your income bracket and your race and your religion. They're just experiences. Start identifying with the fact that you are a state of awareness having those experiences. And when you do that, you start to see the world, and I know from experience, in much more expanded forms. That, what I call phantom self, name, life story, race, religion, sees everything as dots. When you move your self-identity to I am awareness having that those experiences, you start to see pictures, and you start to see the world in a completely different way. And those who can only see dots think those who can see pictures are crazy. Why? Because the norm is dots. That's not the norm, seeing pictures, so you must be mad. And so we have this other great inversion, that those who've allowed themselves, anyone can do it, allowed themselves to see the world in more expanded ways, are seen as insane by those who are still seeing the world in extremely limited ways.
But actually, to see the whole picture, isn't it a good way, or to look at it, is to make several steps back and look at it from this thing. So pull yourself emotionally out of the problem.
Now that's a massive point, Norbert. Massive point, because emotion is the gateway to perception manipulation. We've talked about the little boy on the beach. Look at the other picture that was used to advance a perception agenda about Assad and the Russians in Syria, the dust boy. And when you look at the background to that, that was all manipulated. And what is that? That's trying to enter perception through emotion. So it is a sense of looking at those pictures, obviously being emotionally touched by them, because although it might have been manipulation, it wasn't manipulation for the kids. But then don't get so pulled in, because look at problem, reaction, solution. It's not problem, have a think about it, do a bit of research, see what you think, solution. It's problem, reaction, solution. Reaction. What does emotion do? It reacts. It doesn't look, it doesn't question, it reacts. So if we can still hold compassion, but not react and give our perceptions and our thinking self away in that reaction, we can look at what's happening, we can feel for the kids, but we can say, hold on a minute, why am I being shown this image? And what are they telling me as a result of this image? And that in that way you get streetwise, and you start to see the pictures of manipulation instead of the pixels of emotional manipulation.